Greetings, cinephiles. Are you looking for a movie analysis podcast that stands above the rest? Then look no further than Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters.
We analyze good movies, we analyze bad movies, and yes, we also analyze the in-betweens of the world of cinema.
So if you like what you hear, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And yes, my friends, we are 420 friendly. So when you listen to us, smoke it if you've got it. And now, here's a new episode of Collateral Gaming. The show starts right now.
I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Bo Maddox.
And this is Collateral Gaming Game Launch. Welcome to a special game launch edition of Collateral Gaming, the only video game podcast that matters, where we focus on good games, bad games, and everything else in between in the world of gaming. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. And especially tonight, we've got another banger new video game that just released with actually pretty good timing considering our season premiere this season. But aptly, I have Mr. Bo Maddox from Collateral Cinema special guesting on this episode. How's it going, Bo?
It's going well. You know, I mean, it was an interesting new year and everything, so, I got to play this game.
Yeah, so technically we are recording this on New Year's Day. If all goes well, we should have this out by the end of this day or, maybe past midnight, depending on how long it takes me to get this all done. But, this was actually supposed to be the last episode of the year for Collateral Gaming. And it ended up being our New Year's episode, whatever. We have actually pumped out a ton of content between both podcasts this on our respective seasons so far.
Oh, man, it's been kind of crazy these last few weeks, I mean, we had all the holiday content, of course, our Adult Swim holiday episode special. There's our Saving Christmas, with Victims and Villains. I mean, it was crazy. And then the Bad Movie December, of course, that was going on as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. With Collateral Cinema and with Collateral Gaming, I mean, we have our numbered episode this last month was supposed to be Zelda. That's also bleeding into January a little bit. No worries. But we also had we got part one of that out, and we got out God of War Ragnarok, our holiday special. And on the holiday edition of the bonus round, we talked about the Angry Video Game Nerd, and that was a pretty fun episode.
Oh, yes. I look forward to going back to the Angry Video Game Nerd one more time. I mean, he has so many seasons that we can review, so, I mean, that's something that I like to get into.
Yeah. But anyway, Happy New Year, everybody. Everybody who's listening, we're looking forward to 2023 and the upcoming episodes so far. But today, on this episode, we are talking about Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. That is the remaster/remake. It kind of blurs the line between the two. More on that later. Of the original PSP Final Fantasy VII spinoff, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII.
Now, this is, for me and for a lot of other people, this is our first time actually playing this, because this was locked to the PSP for the longest time, and I never really had a PSP back in the day, so, I mean, I never really got to play this. I mean, I barely even got to play Dirge of Cerberus, and that was on PS2.
Yeah, so, like I talked about in my Final Fantasy, on our Final Fantasy VII episode, which was our season premiere, we covered both the original and the remake. This was kind of my first introduction to the Final Fantasy VII compilation, or even Final Fantasy in general. I mean, I can't say that there's been that many times, if at all, that I've picked up a Final Fantasy game before. Okay, that's not true. I played a little bit of 13-2 back in the day, but I never got into this franchise. So this was kind of my introduction here. So, I mean, and I never had a PSP growing up either. I was a Nintendo guy, so I had the Game Boy Advance and the DS and the 3DS. But so yeah, no, this was my first time playing this game. For a lot of people, like you said, I mean, this game was exclusive, and it was actually one of the better parts of the compilation from what I understand.
Yeah, and I can see why. I mean, story-wise so far, I mean, I haven't gotten that deep into the game, but given that this is supposed to add a little more clarity to the overall arcs of like Zack and namely Zack and Sephiroth and whatnot, it was interesting to see it play out. You know, I mean, we watched a little bit of the completionist on it, so he kind of went into what happens later on in the game, but
yeah, and for us, it's not really a spoiler because we know what happens in Final Fantasy VII. And I will say that I don't know if I recommend this to anyone who hasn't played Final Fantasy VII, because I think from a story perspective, it greatly benefits with that knowledge, and this is just kind of how that came to happen. And we're not going to get into spoilers, by the way, on this episode. We're gonna maintain a spoiler free, like we do with our Game Lunch episodes, but. And I think that's apt because we didn't play very far into this game. I got this game right after it came out, and I've played up to, I think, like, I don't know, chapter 3 or 4. I know Zack is actually a first-class soldier now, and some extra stuff opens up then, but I haven't got the Buster Sword yet.
yeah, the Buster Sword is actually wielded by his mentor and his commander, Angeal, I believe his name is, right?
Yeah.
So here we have an actual original origin for where the Buster Sword came from, which, you know, it's just this iconic weapon in gaming.
It is. And we kind of learn the whole meaning behind it. There is a whole backstory that they get into fairly early on in the game, actually. But even with some of those, you know, moments with Angeal opening up, he talks about how the sword is more important than his life.
And that tracks when it comes to, I mean, any type of Japanese sword fighting. You know, I mean, that there are rituals as to, you know, honoring your weapon and everything. Your weapon is seen as an extension of your soul and of your spirit and everything. So, you know, of course, you're going to show it some reverence.
Yeah. So, in fact, he barely uses the sword. He talks about how it to use it would make it get wear and tear on it, or rust and wear, whatever he says.
Yeah, he says he's kind of cheap like that.
Yeah, and I thought that was funny, but then you learn that this sword actually has this kind of significant meaning to him. Now, when a comrade is in danger, of course, that changes, and he's willing to use it. But, and like I said, this is kind of from the very opening moments of the game. We're not going to get into any of the whole character arcs that happen here, but you get a sense of who this Angeal guy is.
Yes, you do. I mean, he's a very stoic, very, you know, upstanding member of soldier. I mean, he's a first-class soldier, of course, you know. And, I mean, you could tell that he doesn't really put up with some of Zack's naivete, I would guess you could say, somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you could tell, but he puts up with his shit. Also, what is the whole thing with Zack and the squats all the time?
Oh, yeah, he's doing squats all the time. It's weird.
He's just got this, like, bubbly, optimistic personality that you can't help but love him. But definitely a stark contrast to Cloud, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
What's funny is, you know, with Final Fantasy VII and playing through that game, I kind of got the feeling, you know, that Zack was just kind of like another Cloud. I kind of just saw him as you know, the other Cloud, because Cloud ultimately derived his identity from him for a short while, but not his personality, because they're actually very different. I love how Crisis Core actually fleshes out this character, and you get to kind of get a sense for, because I had no idea what his personality was like.
Yeah, you only get like bits and pieces of it in the original game, and here, I mean, you see him kind of starting from the bottom a little bit, you know, and working his way up to Soldier First Class and whatnot, you know, and then leading into where it ends up with him taking his last stand and everything.
Right. And we actually get to see that in Remake as well. And events actually end up playing very differently, and we get to see, you know, what appears to be a new timeline opening up, and so there's some really interesting implications with that. This is very much divorced from that. I would say don't come into it with expectations of the remake story. This is the original game, but just upscaled, remade where necessary to make it work for modern consoles. But it follows the same story, although all of the bits are now revoiced, for better or for worse.
Yeah, I never really got to hear the original voice actor for Zack, and I remember some circles were really up in arms with that, because
They were.
I mean, apparently it was a very memorable, iconic performance or whatever,
Yeah, so looking up about this game, apparently a lot of people felt attached to the previous voice actor. I think his name was something Gomez.
Yeah. I'm not aware of his name.
Let me look it up real quick. Was it Pete Gomez, or let me see. Real time, we're looking this up right now, okay? Because we're professionals.
We are professionals, exactly.
Rick Gomez. The new voice actor's name is Caleb Pierce. Now, it was obvious to me why they did this, and that's because they wanted the voices to match those in Remake. And sure enough, yeah, they're using, for all the characters that were in Remake, that are in this game, they're all voiced by the same ones, and everybody else has been recast. But I think ultimately that was done so that they can update it. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people actually praise the original, the voice acting of the original Crisis Core. I will say that the performances here they're cheesy, a little bit cringy at times. It kind of has that like English dub anime feel to it, which I'm not against. I think that there's kind of a flair that goes with that. I mean, you see a little bit of it in Remake, but it was actually very well done still.
Yeah.
This game, I can definitely tell that the quality of the dialogue, isn't as good. Like, it is definitely a little bit more of that like cringy, cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going off of the script of the original game, and it does have a lot of those tropes that you saw in game writing in the mid to late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yeah,
Like,
it feels that way, and I hear that the original is actually really well done.
It is, yeah.
So I'm surprised to hear that, because I definitely feel like, if there's anything that this one doesn't do better than the original, which I haven't played, it's probably that. Every other facet of this game, though, like as far as like the gameplay is concerned, and even just the presentation of the story, is it seems to be a lot better. I mean, I've heard about kind of how the original plays, and there's this, you kind of use the shoulder buttons in order to actually cycle through all of your available actions. So you can only attack if that's what you have selected. You can only use this materia if that's what you have selected. You can only use items if this is what you have selected. This game has done away with that completely, and I'm really thankful, because that sounds tiring.
No, that doesn't sound like a fun experience at all. It sounds like it would just completely slow down the combat mechanics, like to a crawl.
Exactly, and this is meant to be fast-paced action RPG. I mean, it's actually even more so than Remake was, which was an action RPG remake of Final Fantasy VII's gameplay. This is kind of even a different beast from that, although it does borrow elements of it.
Well, it doesn't have the ATB gauge this time around. It has this what is it? A DMW?
The DMW, Digital Mind Wave. Yeah,
Digital Mind Wave. Yeah.
Yeah, so Crisis Core has this whole like DMW mechanic, and it's the spinning slot wheel that I think in the original actually frequently paused combat and kind of brought it to a standstill. Here, it's actually really nice. It's just kind of sitting there in the corner. I don't even pay attention to it most of the time, but then usually like these little status effects will pop up on screen, and it'll say that you've gained MP or AP, or you're invincible for a short while, or you magic doesn't use MP, or commands don't use AP for a short while. And it actually kind of adds this additional element to combat that keeps it fresh, that keeps every experience different, because it's random.
Yeah. I can kind of see I don't remember what I was going to say.
You can kind of see, you can see what I mean, right? Like the whole DMW system allows it to where every battle is unique and does something a little bit different. In fact, you don't even level up conventionally like you do in any of the other RPG Final Fantasy entries.
I kind of have some mixed feelings about that somewhat, but I mean, I guess that within the context of this game, it's fine. I mean, I'm maybe a bit more of a traditionalist when it comes to that particular mechanic?
I don't feel like it made much of a difference because I felt like if I spent time doing the missions and grinding for a little bit, I gained experience quickly because you do accumulate experience, but the game makes it a point to tell you that you don't see that. You can't check how much that is, but Zach is gaining experience. But specifically when the DMW slot reel hits 777, that's when you actually level up. And so if you've accumulated enough experience, you can actually go up several levels. And just based on luck of the draw, you can level up several times in the row, or you can go a while without leveling up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does kind of give it more of a different flow, but I don't know. Maybe I just need to play through it a little more.
Well, and see, I that's what I figured you would say, and I can see how, hearing that and thinking, like leveling up is a little bit more random, but I found that it didn't make much of a difference. I felt like, if I just kept playing, I would go up a few levels, and I didn't even really pay attention to it. But before long, I was several levels higher. And I think that that's what's nice about this game. I think this game really hit its groove for me. And I kind of got a feel for the way that you play Final Fantasy VII games because you're a grinder. I'm not as much of a grinder.
Yeah.
But the way that this game was structured, the whole mission structure that you can do in between levels, is really nice because you have this set of like, I think 300 total missions that you can kind of tackle, and some of them unlock via story progression, some of them unlock after you complete other missions, but you're kind of left to your own devices, I think, after the first like real chapter. And you get to kind of get a feeling, and the only reason I didn't progress as far in the story is because I just kept doing the missions.
Yeah. I mean, that does kind of go up my alley a little bit, I mean, having a more mission-based approach to grinding, I mean, yeah, that I guess that's cool.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting way to play the game, and it kind of opened that up because what was really, really fun later on was not only discovering new materia, but there's things like materia fusion. Now, you don't unlock this until you play through the story a little bit, but like I said, I'm not even that far along, and I came across it. And the materia fusion system is actually really cool. You can fuse materia together to produce new, stronger materia, and so obviously that can help you get like higher level materia like Fyra, Thundera, Kiraga, and all that. But it also opens up really new, interesting materia. Like there's a Dark Fyra one that I came across by just fusing materia together, and it's Fyra, but it also casts sleep and poison, or silence and poison, one of the two.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah. So yeah.
So you're basically just stacking materia effects on top of each other, sort of.
You are,
sort of.
but
yeah, okay.
But there's a whole like science to it. You never know what two materia combinations will do. And so you kind of put two materia together, see if the result looks like something cool, and then you fuse them, and you lose both, but you gain something new if you go through with it.
It does seem like a more refined version of what they had in Final Fantasy VII, more or less.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And then that's a carryover from the original game. Materia fusion apparently works identical to the way it does here in the remake. So that's nice to hear. I really liked the materia fusion. That was cool. And kind of circling back to the combat, because I feel like this game really emphasized the whole fast-paced combat thing. I mean, some of these battle encounters while you're going through these missions are very quick and easy.
Yeah, definitely.
But you're gaining experience, and like not only you leveling up, but material will randomly level up. And what's nice about the whole DMW thing is that it not only affects the way that you level up and whatnot, but it also affects just the way that combat flows. Like, are you going to use more magic, or are you going to use more commands, or just kind of just juggernaut the enemy and just come at it with basic attacks? And whenever you get all of these different effects, or you even get limit breaks or summons that pop up in the DMW, which happens plentifully.
Yeah.
It really just changes every encounter, and you're like, oh shit, okay, I got a limit break. You can knock all those enemies out. Or, hey, I got a summon. This is going to be really useful in this boss fight.
Okay. I see. I haven't even gotten that far into using the DMW, so...
Yeah, but the thing is with the DMW is you are using it. It's all happening in the background, and that's what I really like the way about how they presented it in Remake, is that, it's just kind of constantly happening. And like you, I mean, I still when I play the game, I'm still kind of lost with the way that the mechanics works. I don't know exactly how the DMW works, but I know that every so often something pops up on screen and it tells me that I've got a limit that I can use, or I've got a summon I can use, and that kind of stocks up, and you can use that whenever you want and turn the flow of combat. So, and then like I said, and just kind of like when things pop up and it's like, you've got unlimited AP for a little while or unlimited MP. I'm like, okay, now that I got all this AP, I'm going to come close in on the enemy and I'm going to use more abilities, the command abilities. Or when I've got unlimited MP, okay, I'm going to, kind of move back a little bit and spam them, go ahead and heal up myself while I can, because it doesn't cost me anything. Shit like that. And I like how that they've incorporated, these aspects of the original game that apparently were like kind of segmented and you had to cycle through them. Now you can attack all of the time. All of the materia are available via a menu that works very similar to the shortcuts in Remake, which I didn't use a whole lot. But in this game, that's how you use materia. So you hold down one of the trigger buttons and you press one of the face buttons, or you can even unlock a couple more and you can use any of your equipped materia.
Yeah, that slipped me up here or there a little bit, I mean, as far as like getting into the gist of combat, more or less. I don't know why. Maybe it was just because I'm not used to playing a Nintendo Switch, which is what we played it on, but
maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah, but once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. I mean, because the remake, again, had the shortcuts menu, which worked very similarly. I just didn't use it. I preferred pausing the game every once in a while and kind of having that turn-based feel for that. This one kind of emphasizes on the hack and slash component,
Yeah.
So it kind of just never wants combat to come to a standstill. And I think that's important. Even using items, it's like, okay, now we can just use the shoulder buttons exclusively just to switch to whatever item I need. Consume the item. And so we played this on Switch, and I wanted to get it on Switch because I kind of wanted to emulate that feel of playing on a PSP.
It definitely has that feel a little bit.
Right?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. In the end, this is a formerly portable game.
Right. So playing in handheld mode just made sense to me, and I have a Switch Lite. So I was like, yeah, this is perfect. But I've seen the graphics on the PS5, and they're phenomenal.
I think that's what's playing on this playthrough right here is PS5 graphics, because that looks really crisp.
Those wings. I want them too.
The company has decided to eliminate Genesis and his cohorts. This includes Angeal as well.
That sword represents our family's honor.
I see. No wonder.
I've become a monster. A monster's objective is usually world domination or revenge.
I told you, you can't live on that side anymore.
Is that Angeal's face?
It appears Genesis isn't the only one who can be copied.
The mysterious gift of the goddess. What is the meaning behind it? For us, at least.
Those soldier people are kind of weird. They fight, and they love it.
If only I were Soldier. Soldier is like a den of monsters. Don't go inside.
Do you remember what I said about our enemy being all that creates suffering? But I created my own suffering.
You want to do something to me, eh? But then, who will stop Genesis and Angeal's degradation?
If this world seeks my destruction, it goes with me.
Am I a human being?
Shinra, Soldier, and you. I hate you all!
Sephiroth! Why did you kill the townspeople? Why did you hurt Tifa? Answer me, Sephiroth!
The army's mobilizing. Find the targets before they do. I want them alive. You hear me?
Roger.
All right, let's get going.
Will I see you again?
Hey, Cloud. I have to go to Midgar.
Yeah, it looks really, really nice, and it's a good looking game. And so if you don't really know where Crisis Core kind of occupies its space in the Final Fantasy VII franchise, it might be a little bit confusing, because here comes this game that looks as pretty as any other high budget AAA main series game, but also just kind of definitely still is built on a structure of a portable spinoff.
Definitely, yeah. And I mean, excuse me. And I do have to say, I mean, it still looks good on the Switch, even though you could see some choppiness. Like I noticed it a lot with hair.
Yeah,
there's like this weird kind of choppiness to it. But other than that, it ran pretty smoothly on the Switch. It didn't feel scaled down or anything, from the what we experienced with Remake. But
yeah, I think, and maybe like it's just not as detailed or something. But yeah, it didn't feel like janky gameplay wise, and hardly appearance wise. Like you said, I think every once in a while the hairs look a little off,
a little wonky. Yeah,
I know what you mean. But yeah, no, it actually ran great on the Switch. Like I said, it kind of helped me stay in the frame of mind of this is a portable spin-off.
Yeah,
or that's what this started as. And so it's actually kind of confusing. I mean, for anybody that's not kind of aware of the whole gist of it, I mean, you've got the original Final Fantasy VII in 1997, right? And then you've got recently that's been remade in 2020, okay? And that's a remake, which isn't really a remake. It's more so a reimagining / alternate timeline sequel that is just named remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole new game, but like they're like separate entities altogether. And then you've got a few spinoffs. So you've got Crisis Core, you've got Dirge of Cerberus. There was a mobile game called Before Crisis.
Yeah, and that is pretty much lost now, apparently. That's lost media.
Yeah, I don't think you can play that. And then you've got and then that's all going to get compiled into Ever Crisis, which I'm actually excited about.
That's excellent. That's good.
Yeah, but you've got this now sub-series, the compilation of Final Fantasy VII, that all of these spin-offs, as well as movies like Advent Children or movie, I should say. And there's like a short animated film that was part of it and now is no longer canon or something.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, and then and then Ever Crisis kind of happening is going to compile everything. All right. So and then you've got Crisis Core, right, which is a spinoff of Final Fantasy VII, a few years after the fact, but still like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is the PSP era, and then now you've got this thing that is more than a remaster, but maybe less than a remake. I don't know, or kind of both.
it occupies a very weird space in that spectrum, I think. Yeah. I mean,
of a spinoff,
yeah,
of a game that has other spinoffs and sequels / remakes. So it does get a little bit confusing. I remember, somebody was arguing on something online, and they were like, "Yeah, everything just is a remake. There are new games," and they started listing things like Final Fantasy VII, and I thought, Final Fantasy VII? Nah, Final Fantasy VII Remake was a totally different entity, and I made that argument, and then I realized, no, he's talking about Crisis Core.
Yeah. Oh, whoops.
which to be fair, I mean, it is the same game. It's not like a whole different thing, It is very, very much a remake / remaster. But I do like that as really, I just kind of see it as a means of porting this game that was previously locked away to a modern audience.
Yeah, it is a huge score for game preservation. And this is a game that, from the looks of it, deserved to be preserved.
Exactly. So I support it. And yeah, let's upscale it. Let's make it meet standards. Let's make it more accessible to the modern player. And let's just kind of get at make it better to achieve the vision of what it was, which is an action RPG that is consistently fast paced.
Yeah.
And I think that it definitely delivers on that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, and it also kind of shows some of the origins of what they use for the combat mechanics in Remake.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so seamless. I mean, compared to the Remake's combat, I mean, there's those little, differences. They're subtle.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could kind of see, like, you pretty much put a ATB on this and you've got the Final Fantasy VII Remake's combat,
Well, I think that's because, like you said, Final Fantasy VII Remake was kind of inspired by Crisis Core, but this has actually gone full circle and incorporated some of the aspects of Remake in the remake of Crisis Core, which is really interesting. But they have, and that's actually, I think they work well off of each other because, they're just kind of different approaches to modernizing the essence of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
And Crisis Core did that in a lot of ways is by being something that was its own entity, that was this own, just kind of greater part of this Final Fantasy VII sub-universe.
And what an interesting sub-universe it is. Like, now I'm just like, let's go ahead and get a proper remaster or remake of Dirge of Cerberus.
Right?
Let's do that because there was promise there. I mean, having Vincent in a Devil May Cry style type of action game, that was a different take,
Yeah, that sounds awesome as fuck.
I mean, I would like to even see some more modern, different takes like that using Final Fantasy VII.
Seriously, yeah, no, that's actually a good idea. Like, imagine what they could do with like other characters too. If they really wanted to explore another part of the Final Fantasy VII universe, which I absolutely think they should, beyond the upcoming remake sequels, Rebirth, and whatever comes next. But beyond that, do something like that. A spinoff set in like another character, explore somebody else of a member of the party, like Sid, Yuffie.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, we got the Yuffie in the intermission DLC for Remake.
Yeah, and then that was a very compelling. That was a compelling story in its own right.
Yeah. I don't know. Red 13, make it like Okami.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
Very interesting. Sephiroth.
Now there's an idea. Actually, look into Sephiroth's early years.
Yeah,
I can see that. I can see that happening.
We get that in this game a little bit, though. We do, because we do get a pre-corrupted Sephiroth, and Sephiroth, Angeal, and Genesis. There are the this kind of like trio of friends that kind of set the framework of events here that Zack participates in.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't get so far as to actually come across Genesis, but. I mean, it seems like he's kind of going through the same type of thing that Sephiroth went through in Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Like the one-winged angel type of thing.
Right. So they bring the one wing thing back for a few characters, and I thought that was cool. But yeah, no, and I think even like his character arc kind of is similar to what Sephiroth goes through.
Yeah.
And this is all culminating in that. So as far as from what I understand, I think the Nibelheim mission is like the last mission, or close to the end.
Which is also really cool because we get an even deeper examination of that incident. Which is a catalyst for a lot of ramifications in the Final Fantasy VII world.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's like the second to last or last chapter probably of this game. But I know it's kind of like that's where this is culminating in.
Yeah,
and we're kind of see this come to a head. And I believe this was the first direct representation of those events in full.
Yeah,
because I mean, I think even in the original Final Fantasy VII, we got Cloud's version of events, and then we found out that was actually Zach's.
It was Zach's experience. Yeah.
But we didn't see that firsthand with Zach, and we do here, and we see it in full context. We have this story that builds up to that moment where shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
You know? So, and I think that's really cool. Like, I haven't even gotten to the part in the story where Zach meets Cloud yet, but I know that that's another one of the like central relationships that frame this game, along with his relationship with Aerith, which I have seen now.
Oh, okay.
The Aerith moments are really sweet, actually, and they kind of actually mirror what later goes on with Aerith and Cloud. So I guess the Cloud Aerith stands are may have a little bit of comfort in this kind of seeing those parallels. But I think even for us Tifa Cloud stands, I think it's nice because it sets up Zack and Aerith as a perfect couple.
It does. It really does. And I'm kind of excited to see where they're going to go with that in the remake, especially with the whole ramification of Zack looking like he's escaped his fate and is alive.
Right. Or maybe in an alternate universe or something. It's
like
unclear. But yeah, no, I'm actually really, really interested to see where they go with it. And part of me kind of hoped that this game would explore that a little bit, but from what I've heard now, it's just a faithful recreation of the original game, and that's fine because I think we needed that context. I think that they're building off of this, and I think that the timing of this is important. Think about it, right? Because I think we're getting Rebirth later this year.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might get delayed to next year. I wouldn't expect it past that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, 2024 seems reasonable.
But if they say it's going to come out in 2023, we'll see. I mean, but I'm just thinking they might delay it or something. Who knows? Maybe I'm just being pessimistic.
I don't know. They seem to do just fine getting this game out.
Yeah. Right. But anyway, the timing of this, I think, is important because I feel like we're going to build off of a lot of this. And I think that it was important to have that context in mind. Now, I think that's going to be interesting because it sets up the way that remake works quite a bit differently to the way the story unfolded in the original Final Fantasy VII, though.
Yeah.
Because we got Cloud's version of events, Cloud's rendition of what happened. Now we specifically have the context for a lot of gamers that picked this up, that... okay, no, here's the real version of events first before we get Cloud's distorted. So I don't know what that's going to mean as far as, how the story beats are going to be achieved. But I think in Rebirth, I think things are going to go off the rails significantly. And that's where, things will start out to happen in the same way they did in Final Fantasy VII, but they'll end off on a very different note so that the last part of the trilogy is just something completely different.
Yeah, we're going to see a major divergence in the in the timeline.
I think it happens here in the next game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe if Zack is alive, then... maybe he runs into Cloud and is able to correct that. I don't know. Part of me feels like I know where they're going to open the next one up, though, and I think it's going to be Cloud's version of events in Nibelheim.
That makes sense.
Like, just open the game out with that, and for somebody that's played... okay, imagine somebody that's played Final Fantasy VII Remake but hasn't played Final Fantasy VII. They get Crisis Core, okay?
Okay.
And so this is how their version of the events of the timeline goes. So we see the real versions of events, and then suddenly we open up in Rebirth with, wait, why is Cloud here? And so we have that disconnect going on with the player who doesn't actually realize what's going on.
Exactly. It's kind of setting up that particular story beat in a different way, in a certain way.
That's my prediction.
Yeah, that sounds plausible enough.
Yeah. I think this was a good opportunity to kind of bring that up again, too, because, we've got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out. Yeah, hopefully, supposedly sometime this year.
Yeah.
Although we don't have an official release date yet. The year just started, so I don't know why I'm being so pessimistic.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I'm excited. And Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is honestly a blast to play through.
Yeah, it is. I mean, especially if you've played a remake or if you played the original on PSP.
Yeah, so I'm going to say if you've played one or the other, I recommend this. If not, I don't know. I mean, again, I mean, considering that the timeline is going to be structured maybe quite a bit differently, this could be a good entry point. Who knows?
I highly recommend playing this. It's mainly based on what Ash was saying about how the remake Rebirth is going to play off of it. So yeah, definitely play it.
It's a hell yeah. 100% if you enjoy Final Fantasy VII or you enjoy Final Fantasy VII Remake or both, check this out. 100%. It's a nice, just action RPG, very much modernized spin-off that exists within this universe. And I think it holds up tremendously well. Even the elements of it that are just what the original game was, as well as, just how well polished it is in this particular remaster.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hells yeah. So, any final thoughts for you, Bo?
I feel like I really need to play some more Remake and a little more of this game. I mean,
right?
More or less. I mean, it's compelling. I like I like where they're taking the story and everything, and I like where they're taking this part of the series.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Final Fantasy VII, it has proven that it has lore for days, and there's just so much that can be built upon here that, it's almost foolish that Square Enix didn't do this sooner.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I enjoyed having a chance to actually play a game that I probably normally wouldn't have access to. I mean, I'm sure you could emulate the original Crisis Core, but I don't really have a reason to because I have this.
Yeah.
This seems to be kind of the definitive version of that. But I mean, I guess, if you were a big fan of the voices of the original and that was a big part of the story for you, maybe that might differ.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that it's definitely worth your time. If you occupy any subset of those, whether you're a fan of the original Crisis Core, whether you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VII Remake, definitely check this out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, Bo, since you're our guest on tonight's episode, what's going on Collateral Cinema?
We just released our last episode of 2022, which is also the end of Bad Movie December, and that is The Love Guru. We were joined by Frank from Geek Freaks, the podcast network, and it was quite fun. So yeah, check it out. Check out our other Bad Movie December episode, I Am Here Now, the Neil Breen classic. And in January, we will have Clueless and Silent Hill for you. And I believe Cinema Recall will be joining us for one of those episodes. So we're going to have more guest hosts coming up and more interesting content.
Hell yeah. So the Silent Hill thing is actually going to be a collab this month. So on the Collateral Gaming side, not only are we collaborating with Collateral Cinema on the Silent Hill episode, and we're dubbing that a collab episode. Hopefully we can get my other co-hosts Megan and Zach on.
Yeah, hopefully that would be a lot of fun.
But not only are we doing that, but we're also doing a bonus round, and I think we're going to cover the original Silent Hill and Silent Hill Homecoming.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, I've always loved the first Silent Hill. I mean, it just laid the groundwork for a lot of interesting aspects of horror gaming that we have nowadays. So
yeah, I'm excited about that. So it'll be our foray into the Silent Hill franchise, sans what we did with Victims and Villains for a live stream, which I don't know if that's even viewable now or not. I think he said he has it all saved. It's all like somewhere. But anyway, that'll be like our first actual like Collateral Cinema venture into the Silent Hill franchise, which will be fun. So that'll be our upcoming bonus round, and I think maybe sometime next season we'll probably actually get into Silent Hill proper.
Yeah,
honestly. So look forward to that. Also in the month of January, It Takes Two is going to be our numbered episode. So we'll have parts 1 and 2. I'm gonna probably play through that game with my buddy and co-host Zach. So Zach, if you're listening, looking forward to doing that with you, bro.
Hell yeah.
And then we're also going to be celebrating our anniversary this month. So our anniversary special is going to be an arcade game mega review, kind of similar to what we did a few seasons ago, where we talked about light gun shooters. This time we're going to be getting into fighters.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I love fighting games.
yeah. And in fact, I think that's what we might be recording next. So if you're listening to this and you are excited for more content, if any of that sounds good to you, just stay buckled in, because it's going to be a wild ride here in 2023. I'm actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting,
especially if we get Final Fantasy VII Rebirth this year, which we're supposed to.
Yeah.
So fuck yeah. Alrighty, well, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or feedback on your platform of choice. You can also check us out on Patreon if you enjoy our content, if you enjoy the show, if you want to support it, because we do have $1 and $5 tiers, and we do actually have some content there, exclusive Let's Play video game commentaries, and I think pretty soon here we're going to get back into recording some of those, maybe finishing some of the series we have open, the games we have open, and recording some new ones as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's going to be exciting if you do end up donating. Collateral Cinema has a Patreon as well too, and where we do full-length movie commentaries.
Yes, we have commentaries on everything from The Room to Freddy Got Fingered to the Buttercream Gang. So come and check it out, and we'll have some different content coming out on that very soon as well. And including, I think, very possibly, we might start releasing our episodes a little early, like a few days early than we normally do. So you look for that.
Hell yeah. So also check us out on social media, Instagram, Twitter, or on Facebook. We have a Facebook group called Collateral Media Podcasts, where you can shitpost or talk about movie and video game news or pop culture, anything podcast or pop culture related, honestly.
Pretty much anything, like even stuff like professional wrestling and comics and whatnot. So come and post.
Hell yeah. So we definitely enjoy the feedback that we get, the downloads that we get. We had over 10,000 not too long ago.
Excellent.
And that was a big milestone for us.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. So I'm actually I am looking forward to the rest of the season's content, to the new year.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for listening. That being said, I am Ashley Chancellor.
And I'm Bo Maddox.
This has been Collateral Gaming. We are out.
Out.
Collateral Gaming is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and game clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.